everybody, welcome back to another week of renting. This is part of the life skills series. I've been bringing you videos every week. So yeah, if you're interested in watching any of our previous videos, make sure to head to those. You can find them on our YouTube channel at Latrobe Youth Space, or you can find them in the videos tab on our Facebook page. So this week we are going to talk about what to do once you've been accepted into a property. So you've done your application, you've done your inspection, you've done all the research, you've done the hard yards, but unfortunately there's still a fair way to go. We're going to talk this week all about what you need to prepare in order to make that transition from your current property over to your next property, as well as tips and pointers to make that as seamless as possible. And we'll also talk about other things like other rights and stuff that you have, and the importance of things like the condition report and so on. So yeah, let's jump into it. Pointer number one, if possible, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, try to line up your move-in date slightly so it overlaps with the end of your current property lease agreement, so that you have a few days where you are actually renting both technically. This will help because it's often really hard to do that cleaning that you need to do until all of your furniture is out of your current place. So if you can have a few days, it will take so much pressure off. You'll have time to go back and do all that cleaning so it's in good nick, so that you can hand over the keys back to the real estate for your previous property. And it also means that you have time to settle into your current property and you don't have to blitz it all in like one big long 14-hour saga of a moving day. So if you can, try to line up a bit of overlap. This will often mean that you'll have to pay an additional week's rent for one of your places. So if you can't afford that, yep, you're going to have a long day on your hands. But yeah, otherwise try to line it up. Pointer number two. So you will need to make sure that you have things like your electricity, your gas, your water. You don't want to be without these. It is a little bit tough. So make sure that you call all of your utility providers at your current place and let them know that you're moving. This can also be a really good time to review them and see if you're actually getting a good enough deal. There's some really good places you can go to check electricity and gas rates. Obviously water is fixed. We put in the Latrobe Valley, we come into Gippsland Water, and them's your options. But for the other two, for electricity and gas, you can head to the government electricity and gas rate checker. Just Google it, it'll come up at the top, and yeah, go into there and compare electricity and gas prices. It's a really good independent comparison site so that you can make sure that you're getting the best deal, as well as you can do things like invest in, you know, renewable energy if that's something that you're passionate about. Another one, call Gippsland Water and just let them know that you are moving. Most likely the real estate will let them know, but just in case, I've had friends who have had a bill come from their old property for the current tenants, and then ended up having to pay for their water usage. So make sure that you call and just give them a heads up, and then they can make sure that your name isn't on the property after that date, and they can make sure that your name is on the new property that you move into. Number four, this is also about utilities. Make sure that you know how the utility changeover is going to work on the day. There is one big one that I didn't know until my recent moving into this property that I've got now, where if you have your mains electricity switch on in your property, when they're trying to switch over to that property, often it will actually, what will happen is it will fail, and then they'll have to try to do it again. So if that's on like for the whole moving day and you don't realize, they won't actually be able to switch over your electricity, which could mean that you're without electricity for like a day or two until you figure it out. So the first thing that you've got to try to make sure that you do is call them and ask them what their sort of estimated time to switch on the electricity is. They probably won't be able to give you an exact time, but they might be able to give you a bit of a time frame. And then make sure that you try to get into your new property before that time and make sure that the main switch is turned off. if the current previous tenant hasn't done this, or the real estate hasn't done this, then you could be in trouble in terms of getting your electricity connected at your new property. So make sure that that is all sorted. They may also have some individual special instructions that you need to follow on the day. For example, you might have to call them when you get to the property and let them know so that they can go ahead. Every electricity provider and gas provider might be slightly different, so make sure you call and just suss out the details of whatever you need to do to get that sorted out. Okay, so preparing for the moving, step 5. So first of all, and we all know it's coming, you gotta pack. It sucks, and it's tedious and boring and ugh, but it's got to be done. So a couple of pointers: try to pack by room and urgency. So anything that you typically keep in your bedroom, start packing the stuff that you are not going to need immediately when you move in first. This is great for 2 reasons. Firstly, you won't be missing the stuff that you really need when you're actually packing in the place that you're currently in, because that can be really annoying trying to find things in boxes that you really need. And secondly, it will actually help a lot when unpacking, because then you can just prioritize by urgency, get all the main stuff out and sorted, and then the rest can wait until you have the time and energy, because moving can be tiring and stressful, so the easier you can make it on yourself, the better. Yeah, so make sure that you do that. And also in terms of getting boxes, you can get free boxes up at Bunnings with any purchase, or you can just ask nicely and often they'll just let you take them. Sometimes they won't though. Or you can actually buy boxes if you want like the proper, all the same size boxes. You can buy them at Officeworks, and often even places like Chemist Warehouse and stuff will have boxes out the back. You can ask if you can use those. So plenty of ways to get boxes organised for the moving day. Of course, you will also need tape and a reliable permanent marker to mark your boxes as well. Try to stack them aside somewhere if you have any room. Be mindful of anything fragile. Make sure that you mark anything that's fragile on the box. And believe me, please make sure that you wrap any fragile goods in bubble wrap, or even, for example, this is a really easy one, you've got to get all your linen over to the new place anyway. Why not wrap it in towels and linen that you already are moving, and just make sure that you still mark fragile on the box, so that whether you're getting a moving person to do it or whether you are moving it yourself, you can be mindful of those things so that you don't have all shattered glass and stuff through your boxes when you get to your new place and have to replace them. Number 6. So you're going to have to make sure that your place is clean and tidy before you move out. The only issue is, and most people will know, if you clean, most of the time it's going to get dirty again, even within a few days. Like even dusting, dust settles constantly. If you vacuum, it's probably going to get dirty again within like a day. So most of the cleaning things that you will need to do on the day honestly won't be able to be done early. A couple of things that can be done early, although it not necessarily, is starting to wash down walls and things like that. Any stains, any dirt patches or anything that you've got on the walls, you can start doing that, doing some spot cleaning. Try to keep track of the walls that you do clean, because some of them won't have things against them, some of them will. So on the day you're probably going to have to do a fair bit more spot cleaning behind furniture and stuff that might have been there. Try to do anything else that can't be sort of undone before your moving day. So things, for example, such as removing nails and hooks from walls and filling in like the little holes that they leave behind with some plaster filler. Things that need fixing up or reversing. Yeah, anything that you can undo beforehand. Otherwise, leave the majority of the cleaning to the day, because you don't want to have to redo tasks like 4 or 5 or 6 times. That is just going to be an absolute pain. Also, on that note, try to start using everything that you've got in your fridge or freezer. This will be useful because if your electricity doesn't get switched on right away on the day and you don't have that overlap period, your stuff might have to sit out for quite a bit. So, and it might end up going bad. Number 7, try to arrange time off work, or time off study, or time off volunteer commitments, or anything that you generally have on in the few days leading up to your move and the few days after your move. This will give you time to really settle in, to make sure that you can stay on top of everything. Believe me, when I moved into this place, I gave myself like a day, and I was like, yeah, that'll be enough, it'll be fine. It was extremely stressful. Lots of things went wrong, and I ended up sort of doing 14 to 16 hour days pretty much for a week to try to get everything sorted out around work. So definitely arrange some time off if possible. It will make your life a lot easier. Don't underestimate, you're going to be tired, you're going to be stressed, there's going to be lots to do. So give yourself that time if you can. Number 8, the real estate will likely contact you to get final details about your moving in, as well as the new lease agreement and everything else. So they'll probably arrange, what they did with me at least, is they arrange an appointment where I go in, I read over the new lease, and then I sign and actually signature all of the bits and pieces. This is really important that you read through it and that you understand what you're reading. There's definitely points sometimes on contracts that can be negotiated, but at least understanding what you're in for and what signing that contract means is really important. They'll also tell you when the bond for the new place is due, when the rent for the new place is due, and all of that. So make sure that you mark those down on your calendar, and you have the money ready to go. If you are unsure during that appointment, or if you're unsure if you're going to understand that lease agreement, bring a trusted friend or family member that has a little bit more experience, and they can go through it with you and help explain it. Usually the person who is assisting you in that appointment can also answer some of your questions around different things and make sure that they ask the agent any follow-up questions that you have as well. So ask away, ask lots of questions before you sign. Now when it comes to bond, as mentioned earlier, they will get you to pay in advance. They will ask you to do what is called lodging your bond, which means you'll have to sign a form in order to say, yes, I consent to this amount of money being lodged. So if they haven't sent you that form before the due date for the bond, make sure you get onto your real estate, because it's really important that that's done. Then you go into a portal, you'll sign all of that electronically, and that will give them consent to put away that money into a security deposit or a bond for your property. If you are uncertain what a bond is, it's basically it's usually equivalent to, this is the maximum they can charge, and they usually charge the maximum. I haven't found anyone who doesn't. 4 weeks rent. So whatever your rent is for your place, 4 times that. And it's put away in the case that you do damage on the property at all, whether accidentally or on purpose, then they can actually use that money to fix up the property. It's sort of a bit of security on their part. Sometimes people or real estate agents will claim bonds unfairly. If that's the case, if you feel like your bond has been taken unfairly or they're trying to take it unfairly, make sure that you contact Consumer Affairs and have a chat to them. They should be able to give you a bit of advice around whether it is unfair or not, whether it would be likely to stand up against VCAT, and then you can actually appeal it through VCAT. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of an in-depth talk about this in the coming weeks, so make sure you check out those videos as well, or again, go and do some research. Tip number 9, so you'll actually be able to pick up your keys on the day, usually after the real estate is open, so they'll open whether it's 8 or 9 or whatever, and it usually is from then that you can pick them up. Make sure that you note this down, because if you don't have your keys but you've booked the movers for like super early in the morning, that could be a little bit of a problem in terms of getting into your new place. So yeah, make sure that you note this down, and then make sure that you don't book the movers before this time. Give yourself time to go in, get the keys, grab a cuppa, feel ready to go, be back at your old place, have everything sort of ready to go. Yeah, it will just take the pressure off and make sure that you are going to have a successful moving day. Directly before, pretty much like the night before you move, make sure to defrost your fridge and freezer. Make sure that they're clean and empty so that it's just easy to move. Tape up any doors, cupboard drawers, things that might fly out or cause problems with moving, particularly if you're doing it yourself. But either way, it's just going to make things go a bit smoother and be a bit easier. So make sure you tape things up. Make sure everything is packed pretty much the day or two before you move. Put all those, you know, more urgent priority items into boxes, slowly but surely. Pretty much the last night, just have your mattress on the floor, just have your bare essential toiletries. Pack yourself a suitcase of like the bare essential stuff that you need for the next day, toiletries and all that stuff, like a change of clothes, you know, anything else that you think you may need, chargers and things. And that way it'll just make your life a lot easier when it comes to moving. And number 10, condition report. Condition report, condition report, condition report. Please do your condition report. This document is a game changer. It can absolutely save you, you know, your entire bond potentially, and your bond can be up to like $1,000 or more depending on what rent you pay, as mentioned earlier. If they basically don't document everything that is wrong with the property or potentially wrong with the property on their end of the condition report, but it actually is something that was pre-existing, and you don't do your end of the condition report and put all those photos down of like, oh, this is the condition of the property, here's some photos of this wall or that dent or that scratch, they could actually claim that that was your fault, and then they might then take your bond unfairly. If you can't prove that it was there before you moved in, then they would be able to take that. Unfortunately, it'd be really hard to appeal. So make sure that within the first 3 days, this is the rule, within 3 days of moving in, you, like exactly 3 days. So if you move in, if you get the keys at 9:30 a.m. or you can get the keys from 9:30 a.m., then it has to be 9:30 a.m., exactly 3 days that it's lodged by. So make sure that this is done. It's often the furthest thing from our mind when we're moving, but even if it's, you know, the second day or the third day, make sure that you make sure that you take a million photos. My advice is actually even before you move in, because once you put furniture and everything into the property, it's going to be harder to take all of those photos of every little bit that you need to take photos of. So even before you move in on moving day, go get the keys, grab yourself a coffee or a hot chocolate if you don't drink coffee. Go to your new place and take all of the photos. Take millions of photos. The more the better. Take close-ups. Take, you know, wide shots. Make sure that you have a good quality camera to do it with, because then you can zoom in and find anything that you need in more detail. Make sure that just everything, no matter if you think it's important or not, it might be later on. You never know, there could be some water damage that has already happened in the property, and you might have actually gotten a photo of that shows just a little bit of the plaster peeling up in the corner. You might not have thought that was important, but it actually might save you thousands of dollars. So make sure you take lots of photos. Now, most of the time the condition report will be electronic, but some real estate still use paper ones. If the paper ones are the case, you can just, I'm pretty certain you should be able to just send them the photos rather than have to print them out. You can just send them electronically. Probably send them as many photos as you need, as you think they will need. So long as you have these photos that are date stamped and time stamped for your records, that's probably the biggest thing that matters. And make sure that on the condition report you're going to have to write in about each room. So they'll go through each room and, you know, windows, are they in good condition? Walls, are they in good condition? Mark down everything. It's like, oh yeah, there's a few scratches, there's a bit of chipped paint, here's a dent, here's a burn in the carpet, like here's, you know, a cupboard hinge that is slightly a bit coming away or something like that. anything and everything, make sure you write it down, make sure it's comprehensive, and make sure it's lodged within those 3 days or it won't be legally valid. So make sure you do that. That is my, if anything, if you take nothing from this video, take that condition report. Please do it. Okay, so next week we are going to be chatting about moving day. We're going to go through it step by step so that you can make sure that your moving day is as seamless as possible. I'm going to give you lots of hints, lots of tips, and lots of examples about what to look out for on moving day. If you haven't watched any of the previous videos, make sure that you do that. We've got everything from, you know, pre-application, application, doing inspections, and we're going to be bringing you as well lots of rental rights and obligations videos in the next few weeks. So make sure you keep an eye out for those to learn about your rental rights and the law in Victoria. Alrighty, everybody, I hope you have a good one and hope that your renting days are happy days.